Hey guys, it's Amy at Zoe back, and I'm going to do my weekly reading update for February 24th, 2019. So this week was a little odd for me in a good way. I only had to work 4 days. I took Friday off. I had planned to take only a half day, but as we got closer, I was like, no, I'm taking the whole day. I just needed a break. The last 4 weeks have been extremely busy at work, and then I've had to cover for somebody who's been out a lot. So, I mean, I wasn't the only one covering for him. Luckily, there's two of us who kind of take the burden, but it means I work closer to 10-hour days, and I don't really like it. I don't know about you guys. I like to come home and read. So, anyway, so I had a 4-day week this week, which was nice, and I had to go train some people, so that was a kind of switch up, and a couple meetings we had, and blah. So it was a weird week for that. I think I read fair. I don't think I did, awesome, or I sucked, but I did make some kind of odd decisions about some books, so I'll just get into that. So I'm going to talk about the books that I finished, and then I'll talk about the books that are I'm in the middle of or in transition with, which I'll explain. And then kind of what I think I'm going to read this next week, but I think it's going to be pretty much what I decide that I'm currently reading right now, because I'm not done with them. Anyway, we'll get to that. So the first book that I finished was Murder of Crows by Anne Bishop. This is book 2 in the Others series. I love this series. I can't tell you guys how much I'm enjoying this urban fantasy. And again, this is more of an alternate history urban fantasy, so it has all the elements of fantasy that I love, plus all the urban fantasy things that I love, and it's in third person, so we get multiple perspectives from people who are in this, and I just love that because you get to see so much of this world, and I'm so excited. I still have a few more books. I have 3 more in this series and then 2 offshoot books, I think. But I'm definitely going to keep reading this, and she's definitely an author now that I want to pick up some of her older books or other books in other series that I have not tried. I did have one on my bookshelf already, and then I just got a trilogy that I think she was pretty famous for that I didn't. I mean, I'd heard about it, but I'd never picked it up, so we'll see how that goes. But this series is one of my favorites. So this has to do with Meg, who has run away from a place that keeps women who are blood prophets. So if you cut them, they will have a vision. And she's run away to get out of this establishment to a place called the Courtyard, where the people, they're all the shifters, vampires, all the elementals, all the other things, and then the humans live around them. And so they have this kind of peace, kind of trying to keep the peace between the two and the others. It's really great world building. I can't explain it better, except that it's an alternate history so that the world is not like ours, but you can see kind of glimpses of our world like in this one, but a lot smaller of human population compared to the others. Have a lot bigger land mass, maybe not as many people, but they control most of the land in North America. So I really enjoy this. If you are looking for something that's kind of a cross between an urban fantasy, and a fantasy, so epic fantasy, but kind of on a smaller scale, but urban fantasy, because you get those city details and community. I really enjoy this, and again, I love these characters, and I just love the way that she does them. So anyway, ranting clearly, I love that book. So I will definitely be picking up the third one, probably in March, if I can hold out. I don't know. Right now I'm okay. I picked up a good book, so but after I finished that, it was really hard for me not to pick up the next book. But I'm definitely going to continue with that series. I did also pick up Sylvia Plath, her little short story from college. This is Mary Ventura and the Ninth Kingdom. These are one of those little favor stories. They were cheaper this way than Kindle or buying them here in the US, so I just got it from the book depository. And I'm glad I bought this. I mean, this is not going to really fit well on my shelves anywhere, but I still enjoyed reading this, and it gave me heart, because the story was written she wrote still very well, because it's kind of a fantastical tale, or maybe more I don't know, surreal. I don't know, but it's hard to explain, so it's really short, so I'm not really going to go into it. I'm just gonna tell you that if you like Sylvia Plath, of course you want to probably read it. It's not the greatest, but it's awesome to see her college work I mean, I don't really, as I said, I didn't really enjoy reading juvenilia from like Jane Austen. It was just painful. But, and this is also the same way, kind of painful, because you could see where somebody might have told her how to change something, but she also wrote really good. So you kind of see that that was already there. You know, it's one of those kind of weird pieces. It was hard for me to like, you know, rate it or anything. But I'm glad I read it. I'm glad I have it. And again, I think Sylvia Plath was, I just like all this stuff. I don't know how to explain. Never mind. We won't go into that. But I did like it, and I definitely, I'm glad I have it. Okay, I've said that like 3 times. Sorry. Then I finally finished Stinky Boys by Slavomir Ilekovic. I don't remember who was the translator on this one. Translated by Julia and Robin Whitby. So this is the 3rd book I've read from her in just over a year. It's probably my least favorite so far, but I think it's really because this was hard to read more than a few pages at a time, because this is a conflict. This talks about Soviet voices from the Afghanistan war, and I don't know a lot about this. I mean, I was a kid while this was all happening over there, and I don't know enough about it. Like, I just remember hearing things, but not, like, I don't have a lot of details. And I don't think I studied it ever. So, it was really interesting to hear about it. And again, it's so sad the way how people come back from these wars, just like in the Womanly Face of War, where when those women got back, they were told not to talk about it and not to, you know, kind of to hide that they had been to war. And men who had gone to do this, or women who had gone over too, they were kind of treated the same way. It was kind of like a parallel. They say it's kind of like how people were treated in our war with Vietnam when they came back from that conflict. So it was kind of hard in that way to read that, but it also made me want to read more about the Vietnam War and some other conflicts that I haven't really studied because they're not the major big ones. Because, you know, I've done a lot of Revolutionary War, you know, the Civil War, and then both of the, you know, World Wars. I mean, I just haven't ever touched really Vietnam or Korea, and yeah, for, you know, our stuff. And maybe there's some other wars along the way that I need to check into. I'm trying to get my whole history, world history, better up to par, I guess. And this was a really good book for that. And again, this is told in her oral style, where the person just kind of tells their story, and she doesn't really interject much of her into this. Again, a few places she does have where she got a phone call from somebody and how they were yelling at her about bringing some of the topics up in this. But I think it was really powerful. And I can see why they needed, you know, that culture would need that, you know, like that's it's a good book for what she got. And I guess this one won. I don't know if it's this one exactly that won her the Nobel Prize, but again, I've now read 3 of these books. They're all really, really good. Just, this was not one of my favorites of that, but I think this was written in, well, the early 90s. I think it was published in English the first time in 1992. But anyway, I still enjoyed that, and I'm glad I read that. I have one more that I have in print that's about the Soviet Union when it collapsed, and then she has a new one coming out in July. That's one she wrote a while ago. That's a World War II one. I don't know if it's about children in World War II. I'm not quite sure. I can't remember what it's about. But again, I'll be picking that up. But I probably will wait till it's paperback. But again, that comes out in July. So I think that would be all 5 of hers are now in English that I know about. So anyway, I really enjoy her as a writer. I think she hits home the style that she has in her books. And then I went on and picked up Manners and Mutiny by Gail Carriger. This is book 4 in the Finishing School series. Now, this is probably the first YA book I've read in years. Only probably since the last time I really read The Finishing School a couple of years ago when I was trying to get to this book and I didn't get to it. So this has been sitting on my shelf for the last couple of years. Gail Carriger is one of my favorite authors. Because she has the Solace books, which is the Parasol Protectorate. Those 5 are my favorite. Anyway, so I picked these up because they're in the world of the same of that, but just in a couple decades earlier. I think they're really good for younger readers. They have a lot of the good steampunk, urban fantasy stuff that I like, because there's shifters and vampires. And this is finishing school is actually like finishing as in taking people out, poisoning and killing. Oh, it's funny. It's a funny school. It's a school that teaches girls how to be spies, pretty much. So I think overall the series is really good. It wrapped up really well. This is the 4th book, so I have finished a series. Yay! I've had on my shelf forever, but I've also come to the decision that as much as I love Gail Carriger and I enjoyed this series, it is just not something I'm going to ever reread. So I'm going to probably give my 4 books, all 4 books to my friend who has girls who are just about teenagers. And if she doesn't want them, she's a teacher. She can take. She's a high school teacher, so she might take them to our class. I don't care. I just want them. I want them to go to somebody who will read them. I just found them really fun. It's just it's not one I'm going to reread again. But there was a read along by Gail Carriger on all this year. We're reading all of her stuff to the release of the newest book, and I'm picking up only the books and the novellas that I have not read while she's doing it. So like this one was these 2 weeks, last week and this coming week, and then you're supposed to finish this, so I've already finished it. But then the next week after that is a novella that I've not read called Poison or Protect, so I will read that probably early March. And then, or this week, it matters what happens, but I'm going to read it here in the next couple weeks. And then I don't have to pick up again until we get past the 5 books that I've read, which the Parasol Protectorate. So you'll be seeing a few of her books popping up this year as I finish out the novellas and novels that I just have not finished yet. So again, I finished a series. I'm happy. So real quick, I'm just going to talk about the one DNF I had this week, and that is Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. This is not a solid DNF. This is not the time for me to read this book. I started this book one day doing chores, and I was kind of like, okay. And then I started it some morning on the way to work, and I was like, oh, I can't do this right now. It was a little bleak for me at the time, and I couldn't do this. So I'm going to return my copy to the library. I have it on audio, and that's what I was listening to. It wasn't a bad audio narrator. It was not. I do not think it's the book's fault. I just felt it was too bleak at the time of what was being talked about, that I'm like, I can't do this. So oh, there's somebody's little paper in there. Anyway, it's probably going to be late to the library because it's due today, but I don't want to go take it in. We'll see. I'll try to get it in, but I'll probably come back to that at some point. It's just it was not, right now was not the time, and I was hoping to do it for Black History Month, and it just didn't work out. I just couldn't listen to it. I also have paused my reading on Mary Barton. I did try to pick this up again, but I cannot stand the font of this book. I bought this book new, but it was a cheap version. It's like $7, but the print is horrible. I don't know if you can tell, but it's kind of like an old style, kind of bad printing press kind of style. I don't know. I hate it. And there's some spacing issues, and then being a writer and an editor, or editing of my own stuff, it just drives me crazy. So I've only read 58 pages of this. I really want to continue. I was getting really into it. I just couldn't do it. And so I bought another copy. It's on its way here. It won't be here probably until March. But point is, I will probably pick this up sometime, hopefully in March. We'll see. But I still want to read Mary Barton by Elizabeth Gaskell. Again, this is a Industrial Revolution kind of story. Well, that's not the way I want to put that. Well, I mean, again, it's talking about business, like big shops. No, those are not the words. Factories in Manchester, and the workforce and the owners. And this is following a family, Mary Barton and her father, John, and some of the conflicts that and the bad stuff they see that's socially happening with medical and, like bad conditions for living. Anyway, as I said, I really wanted to read it, but I can't read that version. I'm going to get rid of this book. I just can't do it. That font just drove me crazy. And then I've paused on Kintu. And I don't know how to say Jennifer, however she says her name. Sorry, guys. But I was trying to read this for Mel's Bookland Adventures, her Read Around the World book club on Goodreads. And then also for Reading Through the Ages because of the African pre-1800s thing. So okay, I've only read 40 pages, but there is so much backstory in just those 40 pages. It was driving me crazy. Like, the writing is so good, but we're getting the story so passively through backstory. It was, I don't know if that gets better or worse through this. So I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about this. I know some people have really liked this, and I want to read it. I feel like it's an interesting story. It spends so much time going back to tell me things. And that in those 40 pages, I think I spent most of the time in backstory, and that is just, to me, that's not what I want. I want to go forward. From this moment, go forward, and you tell me a little bit, but you don't have to tell me your whole freaking backstory on everything. I don't know. I feel like there's too much, and so I'm having trouble with this. So I put it down because it was just annoying me. So I'm not sure, guys. So that's kind of an iffy one if I'm going to go back to it. It's not, so it's, again, it's on a pause, not a DNF as in I'm taking it off my currently reading. It's going to be open there for a little bit longer, but I want to hear from you guys what you think about about the backstory issue on that. I don't know. There's just problems with it to me. And then then I'm going to talk about the 2 books that I'm currently reading, and these are the ones I'm probably going to read through this week, and then we'll see. So because I didn't get along with Giovanni's room, I decided to start my Washington audiobook. This is Washington Alive by Ron Chernow. So this is massive. This is technically one of the books I want to read for March of the Mammoths. So I started it early. I don't care. You know, I'm not holding myself to timelines. Like, I just can't right now. And I'm playing with what other people are reading for other things, clearly, and it's not going well for me. But I've been wanting to read listen to this massive audiobook for a couple of months now, since I got the book. And then I got the audiobook at some point. And so I really wanted to read this, and I've really enjoying the audiobook on this. I think I'm about 250 pages in. So I've listened to about 13 hours, 13 or 14 hours on the audiobook. It was like 42 hours. It's a really long one. I really like this, the writing style of him. I don't think I've read any of his other biographies, but of course I want to pick up the Hamilton one and the Grant. I mean, those are like on my list of books, because again, I'm doing I want to do the presidential biographies. I want to read about one for every president, but I also am taking, like, I want to read of the big people in government at that time. Like, I also want to read like Ben Franklin and the Hamilton, you know, like people who weren't maybe president, but were around. And then there'll be other times where I pick up other things like that. But I'm hoping to start this. I've been meaning to do this presidential thing for the biographies for a while, and I just have not got around to it. Again, I've read stuff on several of them, like Lincoln, and I have read other Washington biographies, but they were all around the Revolutionary War. And this one's really great about from the very beginning, you know, of his life. Because again, it is a life, so it's going to be everything. So that's why I'm only now like 250 pages in, and we've been like the last 50 pages have been the start of the Revolutionary War. So it's been really fascinating to see how fallible everybody is, people are, and how he changed from a young man to become the general of the Continental Army and stuff. And it's, again, I'm waiting to see how the transition to president goes, and that way. It's very interesting. I really enjoying it so far. So I will definitely be listening to that in my car for the next couple weeks. So yeah, I started a little bit early, but again, it's over 800 pages, so I thought I just figured I'd start it because I really wanted to. It's just over, I think, for the March of the Mammoths, it's like 822. So if you want to read this for March, you can do it. It's over 800 pages. And then the book I'm reading physically right now is A Closed Column in Orbit by Becky Chambers. I've been meaning to pick up the second book since last year when I read The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. And I really enjoyed that. I don't know why it's taken me so long to pick this up. It was on a TBR last year and it just never happened. Anyway, so I finished, what did I finish? I think Manners and Mutiny. And I kind of, as I said, I gave up on Kinto and Mary Barton. And I go, what do I want to read? And I just looked over at my shelf and this spine went, oh, I want that one. So that's what I read. So this, of course, is following two characters that are from the last book, but it's like a companion novel. So you don't have to read the other book, I don't think, but I guess it makes the world more complex if you know some things from the first book. But so far, I'm not very far. I'm only about 42 pages in. I didn't read a lot this weekend because I was with my parents. And we read a lot, but we also do a lot of stuff and watch a lot of TV. We watched a lot of basketball this weekend. Anyway, so going past this, I don't know what I'm going to read yet after I read this, because I figure this will take me a few days. Washington's going to take me forever. But I'm not sure what I'm going to read after that. So I'm not sure if I'll be picking up whatever I pick for my March TBR, or I'll just pick and choose something off my shelf that it calls to me. I'm being really a mood reader right now, and it's been very nice, but I'm also trying to get through these books that I've had on my currently reading. And as I said, I got two now that I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. Or, well, one I'm waiting for another book and then I'll restart it, and the other one I'm just not sure. So how are your guys' reading going? How was your week? Anything good that you're reading? Let me know. Have you guys read Kinto? And if you have, did you have trouble with the whole backstory issue? Like on and every chapter? Backstory, like, let's move on. Okay, I don't know. I'm just having issues with it. So anyway, that's it. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.